Hi guys, Sony Dubs here, and today I'm doing a video review on the Jabra Elite 85H. Now these headphones can be found for around £280 in the UK and around $300 in the US. Links will be down in the description below in case you're interested. Now at this price range you've got a lot of competition. You've got the Sony WH-1000XM3s, you've got the Bose QC35 Series 2s, you've got the PSB speakers, which are one of the best audiophile grade noise cancellation headphones, you've got the Nuraphones as well. Suffice to say, you've got a lot of options at this price range. And Jabra, for being one of those companies that actually makes a lot of business grade headsets and ones that kind of pioneers microphone quality, have ventured into the active noise cancellation space. So in this review I'll be comparing it to those models that I just mentioned and also going into more depth about it. So without further ado, let's get into it, and let's talk about the build quality first. Now the headphones are available in a few different colours, but what I really like about the headphones is their finish. They've got a fabric type of finish to them and it looks really nice. It's not something that you'd normally come across with other noise cancellation headphones or any sort of headphones at this price range. So it's great to see that Jabra has kind of taken a step back and been like, we want a little bit of a different sort of design and something that's a little bit more alluring in comparison to its competitors. In terms of its functionalities, it can fold, but as you can see, this little bit over here kind of sticks out, which can be a bit of a problem because it's a bit sharp on the edges, therefore can catch onto, let's say, clothing, or if you have it on your bag. As you see, the mechanism kind of clicks back into place, and it does have a bit of a kind of feel to it, a plasticky feel to it, and that is obviously because it is made out of plastic. At least the part over here, the inner headband is made out of metal, so I wouldn't worry about that. I don't think you'll have any problems in terms of longevity. The headphones also have a pivoting style of design, so you can fold it in as well. Other than that, let's talk about the button configuration and also in terms of the comfort. On the right hand cup, which you can see right and left indicated within the inner bit of the headband, the right hand cup has three buttons, up and down and a center button. Now these buttons are pretty easy to press. I have no sort of complaints, and they don't really cause that much discomfort when you're pressing them and when they're around your ear. So just something worth bearing in mind. Through here you can adjust your volume, skip, play, pause tracks and answer calls. On the right cap as well, you've got a microphone button, but this microphone button is actually to activate your voice assistant. Because it doesn't have a voice assistant built in, it does activate your phone's voice assistant, so you can have a Siri if you're on iOS, or you can have Google Assistant or anything that you've actually got set up. It's a quick one-access button and it's quite nice to see. On the right side you've also got a USB-C port and a 3.5mm jack. These are used for charging and using the headphones passively, whereas you don't need any sort of power if you run out of juice. Speaking of that, in terms of battery life, these are pretty good. You can only go by the quoted battery life on Jabra's website. However, at least in my experience, I didn't really have that much problems using them in and around about a week or so during my daily commutes, and in that respect I didn't have to really charge them. So battery life is good, as I can say. I can only speak of my own experience. The USB-C port also allows a fast charging, so you can quickly charge them and give yourself an extra juice for a certain amount of hours. Useful yet again, and the fact they're using USB-C is no surprise at this price range, but something worth bearing in mind and commending. Now other than that, in terms of the button configuration and what you get on either side, there is a single button over here for the active noise cancellation, and that's on the left hand driver. This button cycles through three different modes. You've got off, noise cancellation and hear through mode. Now the hear through mode is quite interesting because it amplifies your ambient sounds. It's kind of similar to what you get with the Sony headphones. And in this respect, it actually works really well, and I must say I was actually very impressed with what Jabra have done. The microphones that are positioned around the headphone basically pick up sounds around you and make you hear as to what's around you. Now the noise cancelling feature, which I'll get into in just a bit, is also very good and quite easy to toggle on and off. There's also the app, the Sound Plus app, the Jabra Sound Plus app that is, that also allows you to tailor through the three modes and also adjust a 5-band equalizer Furthermore, you can also enable smart sound, which, to be quite honest with you, I think was a little bit of a gimmick. What it essentially does is scan the environment around you and therefore adjust the noise cancellation level based on what's around you. When I was sitting in an office, suddenly it would just go into hear-through mode. I just didn't really think that that was the most appropriate mode when I was sitting in an office, because I kind of want to be isolated, but each to their own. You don't have to have that option enabled. You can disable it through the app. But bear in mind that you need to use the app in order to have that function set up in the first place. So just worth bearing in mind. Now moving on to comfort, I must say the headphones were really comfortable. In terms of how they look like on my head, as you can see, in terms of the design as well, they don't really stick out that much. And the reason I'm, by the way, stuttering sometimes is because the headphones are sometimes telling you that there's no device connected. So yes, there's a little bit of an audio tone that you can hear telling you what the headphones are currently doing. Now, in terms of comfort, I have absolutely no problems. During a hot summer's day, I didn't feel my head was sweaty, and I felt that the actual the pads as well passively isolated noise really well, fitted over my pretty large ears really well as well, so therefore they weren't on ear, they're definitely over the ear headphones, and on top of that we're very comfortable. The padding is very nice and soft. The top of the headband as well is padded to a right amount. It's not over the top, and neither is it too little. You don't really feel the headband kind of digging in at the top. So in terms of design and in terms of build quality and comfort go, no complaints. Now, one feature I would also like to point out is actually their call quality. Now, they've got 8 microphones on the headphones, and 6 of those, at least according to Jabra, are used for call quality. I must say, when I compared these in comparison to the Sony, Bose, Nuraphone, pretty much all of its competitors at any sort of price range, the Jabra Elite 85H had excellent, absolutely excellent call quality. Yes, it won't replace your smartphone, which is right next to your head or right next to your mouth when you're talking, but when it comes to call quality for headphones or over-the-ear headphones, these are among the best. And you can kind of see that the case with Jabra being kind of pioneering in this sort of technology, the fact that this sort of technology has come to these headphones as well. So it's commendable, and I must say, very impressive to say the least. So now let's move into the noise cancellation section. Now, these are active noise cancellation headphones, and yes, you'll have to enable the mode in order to benefit from it. Now, what I found is with active noise cancellation mode enabled, these headphones actually blocked out a surprising amount of sound. They were better than the Microsoft Surface headphones, for example. However, they weren't as good as the Bose, Sony or Nuraphone equivalent. These 3 other headphones blocked out sound a little bit better in the mid to high frequency. So for example, if you're hearing sort of train tracks or people speaking at sort of like a high volume and have like a little bit of sibilant in their voice, it cancelled out, the 3 other headphones cancelled out those sort of tones a little bit better than the Jabras. It's not to say the Jabras were bad, it's just that if I'm comparing them to these other flagship headphones, these flagship headphones were just a little bit better. However, in the lower frequencies, I felt that this was actually pretty competent at cancelling out a lot of noises, and in terms of the mid to low frequencies as well. So overall, it's actually really good in terms of noise cancellation, but is it class leading? Absolutely not. The Bose, Sony and Nuraphones are better options for noise cancellation. Now, before I move in the sound quality section, I do also want to mention one other feature which I almost forgot, is the fact that these have got an auto pause technology. So if I put them around my neck, they will pause. If I put them around my head, they will automatically resume. You can also adjust this feature, but the feature itself is really well done and it works pretty instantaneously. So I had no complaints there with that sort of feature included, and the fact that it is included in the first place is a good addition to the headphones, just makes them a lot easier to use. Now let's move on to the sound quality. Now the sound quality of these headphones is V-shaped. It's a warm sounding, fun sounding headphone that really accentuates the mid bass and sort of the lows a little bit more than it does with the mids. As a result, you've got kind of like a recessed mid-range. The mids are a little bit pushed back and therefore vocals don't come out as much. Mid-bass has got a very prominent sort of sound. It's controlled, but yet it's very prominent, so therefore it will take kind of the majority of the sound. Now that means that it is fun, you will be excited when you're listening to them. However, you will feel that in terms of accuracy wise, especially when you compare it to the Sony, Bose and the Nuraphone headphones, is that these do sound a little bit more pushed back and subdued. That said, when I was comparing these to the Bose, I felt that these extended a lot better in the sub-bass, and it's something of a flaw that I felt with the Bose, is that they kind of roll off or kind of cut off the lower frequencies. The Jabras, on the other hand, don't do that. They really extend and provide a much better bass response over the Bose equivalent. However, in comparison to the Sonys, they're pretty much on par, and if you were to compare it like for like, I would say the Sonys had a little bit more control in the mid-bass. As I said, the mids were pushed back. It's not to say they weren't accurate, they do sound very nice. You can EQ them via the app as well, as I said before. However, if I'm comparing them, again, kind of like for like, the Sony came out on top, and even the Bose, especially in the upper mids, it just sounded a little bit more forward. So therefore, if I was listening to, like, say, Alicia Keys, a recording from Alicia Keys, her voice was coming out a little bit more clearer than it would on the Jabras. In terms of the highs, these again were a little bit better against the Bose. They extended a little bit better and providing a very nice sort of sparkle at the top end. The Bose have a slight little roll off at the top end. But then in comparison to the Sonys or the Nuraphones, for example, these lack in terms of that high-end extension. They just sound a little bit more flat or kind of like rolled off at the top end versus the equivalent Sony or Nuraphone. Then finally, in terms of soundstage, this is where I felt that these had kind of like a hit and miss. On one hand, they had a great sort of instrument separation, great sort of tonality and imaging. However, the width and depth felt a little bit closed. In comparison to the other three headphones that I've mentioned several times in this review, they just sound a little bit more close sounding. So therefore, sound felt a little bit closer to your ear, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but if you want to be listening to nice recordings or you want to be watching sort of podcasts and things like that, I did have a problem. And finally, in terms of rounding off the sound quality, and it kind of links in with the Bluetooth as well, Bluetooth technology is no problem in this respect. You've got good sort of range and good sort of technology. However, the codec is limited to SBC codec only. You've got no AAC, aptX, aptX HD or LDAC codec. A lot of the headphones that I mentioned before have a variety of these codecs included, and that all impacts the sound quality. So it's something worth bearing in mind. So what do I think about the Jabra Elite 85H? Well, in all honesty, they're nice headphones. They look good, they've got good sort of features, and they sound quite good. However, at £280, they're far better options. As I said, the Sonys are my go-to pick if I was buying noise cancellation headphones, and the Bose provide a little bit of a different sort of comfort. They feel a little bit looser on your head, and therefore if you're working in an office environment predominantly and wearing headphones, I'll choose the Bose even though they don't sound as good in the lows and the highs as the Jabras. So that's pretty much it. Jabra have done a good job. I can't really say that I would recommend them. However, I do think that they've done a nice job here and coming at the price that they do. I just wish they were a little bit cheaper, and I know the prices fluctuate for these headphones on Amazon.co.uk. You can find them from £230 to £280. However, the retail price is £280, and that's why I'm basing this review on a £280 price tag. So anyway guys, if you've got any questions, make sure you ask me down in the comments below. If you like this review and want to see more unbiased, unpaid, unsponsored content, do subscribe, as that's what my channel is all about.